everybody, and welcome back to the 7 Sage LSAT podcast. I am one of your hosts, Bailey. Today, we are continuing our series where we chat with some people about their own LSAT journeys so you guys can get some insight into what it's like for other people. I'm joined with Saavni, who studied with 7 Sage, is now a tutor at 7 Sage, and I'm super excited to hear about your A through Z story. How'd you get here? But yeah, nice to have you. I don't know. Tell me a little bit about yourself. I hate that question. I hate answering it, so I'm going to make you answer it.
Well, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I remember when I was studying for the LSAT many years ago now, I would listen to this podcast back when Asta Sinha was running it. And
Wait.
it was super helpful to me. So this is very full circle. A little bit about me. I was born and raised in Texas. I did my undergrad in Texas, and I studied for the LSAT while I was in undergrad because I was silly and I thought that I would go straight to law school after undergrad. That didn't happen. I ended up taking a gap year. But I now am a student, a second year at Yale Law School, and I'm so glad that I had found 7 Sage because I don't think I would be here without the platform. So I'm just really excited to be here and answer any questions that you have.
Yay, I'm so excited. Okay, yeah, because you started studying a while ago, like when there was still logic games, right?
Yes. And
Amazing.
I tried to finish my studying and finish my exam taking before they took logic games off because I loved logic games so much. I'm so sorry for the current students that don't get to do those.
I know. They actually are really fun. Yeah. I feel like it's some people look at them and they're like, oh my gosh, thank goodness we don't have to do this. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, that's kind of how I felt at first. When I saw them, I was like, this is impossible, but they're so fun. They're learnable. But anyways, doesn't matter at all.
Yeah.
Now we have this useless knowledge.
Right. But yeah, I guess a little bit about the beginning of when I started studying. So initially, again, I thought that I would go straight through to law school just because I thought that was the most efficient path, but also because I was graduating at a time when it was just a kind of bad job market, especially for someone with majors in political science and international studies. It just was not the time to be looking for a job. And so I really thought that there wouldn't be something in that gap year that I could do that would actually boost my application. And so I really wanted to get the exam over with and just apply and go straight through. But that didn't happen. I started with a diagnostic of a 156, which was fine. And then I took the test twice and I scored both times below what I wanted to score, below my goal score. And this was during my junior year of undergraduate. And so I would have had to apply my senior year of undergraduate. But because I received those two scores, I had to make that decision that no, I'll have to apply next year. And then I took a long break from studying, about 6 months. And then I returned to studying the second semester of my senior year of college with 7 Sage, which I hadn't used prior, and then took the exam June, right after I graduated, essentially, in 2023, before they took logic games off. And then that's when I got my final score. And then I applied that year. So in 2023 is when I put together my application materials and then started in fall of 2024.
Nice. Okay. And then now we're in 2026. So
Now
you're a 2L? Why am I so bad at math? Are you a 3L?
I'm a 2L. 2L.
Okay. Amazing. Perfect. Okay, cool. Wait, okay, let's backtrack a little bit just because I think this will be interesting for people to listen to. I think a lot of people are kind of in a similar situation as to where you were after you had taken the test a couple times. You got, I mean, I don't know what you got, but like maybe it was a good enough school to, or a good enough school, a good enough score to apply to some schools, but it was just like you wanted to hold out until you got your goal score. What kind of factored into that decision? Like, were you always just like, I want to get my goal score or bust? Or were you deciding for a little bit, like, should I just apply with the score that I have now?
Yeah, I definitely was considering just applying with the score I had at the time. It was like in the mid 160s, and it would have been fine to apply with
Right,
that
that's
score.
not bad. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a bad score, and it totally would have been okay to apply with it. I just thought that I thought I could do better, basically. I knew I could do better,
That's what I
and
was gonna say, change that. When you knew you could do better.
yes, and that's what it is. It's that you know you can do better and you're so frustrated because you keep getting the same scores over and over. The first time I took the test, I didn't get the score I wanted, and the second time I took the test 2 months later, my score only bumped 2 points, and it still was in, the mid 160s. And I just knew I could do better, not because I was scoring any better on my practice exams, because my practice exams were telling me that you're in the mid 160s.
Data wasn't even pointing to yes, but I
No,
knew
the
deep
data was
down.
not on my side, but I just somehow knew that I could do better. I didn't know how, but if I just had some targeted coaching or something, I could do better, and that would put me in a range of schools that I thought that I wanted to go to. I would also say that I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder because when I was applying to undergraduate, I really wanted to go to some of these mid-tier to high-tier schools, and then I ended up getting a really great scholarship at the undergraduate that I went to, and ended up taking that scholarship and had an incredible, incredible time in undergrad. But I just had this chip on my shoulder that for the next school that I go to for my master's program, I want it to be like really, really great. Um, and I wouldn't say that that's necessarily healthy, but that was definitely part of my calculus that I really wanted to, do the best I possibly could. And so ultimately that led me to taking the gap year and reapplying. And I'm so glad that I did because honestly, my next score was 9 points higher than the mid 160s score. And I think that if I had stopped and just applied at that time, it totally would have been fine, but I would have had a very different law school experience. And some people are fine with that. Some people are very happy with the scores and the range of schools that theirs get, and that's great. Um, but I just wanted to be a kind of a different range of schools, I thought, more securely in that range of schools pool. Um, and so I ended up taking it again.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, I like that a lot because I mean, I think there's just a lot to be said about really thinking through how you want to spend your next 3 years. Like it doesn't have to be a certain school. We're not saying, everybody should go to a certain school, but like this is your life. It's totally up to you and you have the ability to really get better at the LSAT. I think so many people have more of this fixed mindset where it's like, okay, well, I've seen a little bit of improvement in my studying, but I'm just at this plateau and I'm stuck and this is my ceiling and I can't keep going. And I think that sort of mindset is like a self-fulfilling prophecy. We talk about this all the time where it's just you think that you can't, you can't. You think you can. I mean, it takes a lot more than just thinking you can, but you really can. Um, so I'm glad you didn't give up. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, like, one thing that I would say if you're just starting this LSAT journey is that don't let the application cycles guide your studying time because you might feel pressure that, like, I need to be done with this by November because that's the last time I can take this test to apply in this cycle or October or whatever it is for you. But in reality, there's no rush to go to law school. Honestly, there might be even benefits to spending more time before you go to law school because you have a better sense of what you want to do. You have a better sense of the law. You have a better sense of self. You have a better sense of your work ethic. I mean, truly being here, I feel like 1 year out was not enough. And so really yeah, I mean, don't let the application cycle tell you when you need to apply. Let your own intuition tell you when you need to apply. If you really feel like this is the highest I can get, go ahead. But if you have an inkling that you could do more, push it. I mean, push your start time. There's no rush. No one's going to judge you for it. Really nobody cares. But your score does matter. So that's more important than the timing in my opinion.
Agreed. Yeah. And I always just would remind myself like a few more points can be schools that you wouldn't have gotten into otherwise. It can be thousands of dollars of scholarship. Like there's just so many things that LSAT score unlocks, which I don't know, as annoying as we might be thinking the system is, we're in it, can't change it. So definitely want to play it to your advantage. Amazing. Okay, I am curious what you did with your gap year, and then we can talk more about LSAT studying. But were you continuing to study during that year? I guess did you finish studying your senior year?
Yeah, so I finished studying my senior year. Basically, I studied from January to May or June of my senior year and then took it in June 2023. And then beginning in August or September of 2023, I pursued the Fulbright program and I moved to Uzbekistan for
Yes,
about
yes,
9
yes.
to
I'm
10
so
months.
pro teaching abroad. Was it for teaching or for,
Yes,
research?
teaching.
Nice.
And so I
Uzbekistan is crazy.
It was crazy, and this goes back to, like, I really didn't think that there was anything I could do in that gap year that would strengthen my application, but the reality is that there's tons of opportunities and tons of interesting things that you can do. You don't have to go work on the Hill or go work at a DA's office. You can go work at Bain if you want. You can go to Uzbekistan. I mean, there's so many things that you can do that will not only give you the time that you need, but will also actually strengthen your application. Like I wrote a lot about my time in Uzbekistan in my applications, in my supplemental materials. I think my Yale 250 was about my time living in Uzbekistan, and an aspect about that. So yeah, there's just lots of benefits. Don't feel rushed to go into it. That year was incredible. I think about it all the time and highly recommend going to Central Asia if you haven't already, which most people probably
No,
haven't.
I haven't. I gotta go. That's awesome. That's
Yeah,
so cool.
definitely you should
But
go.
yeah,
It's
no, people are always freaking out about like, "Oh, I can't take a gap year because" yeah, it's so interesting for you to share that insight too, because I've always been so pro gap year, but I'm also just like, I love having fun. Like and not that I just, like had fun for my whole gap year, but I did a very similar thing where I taught English in Spain and I was just like, yeah, like life is too short to not do this. I know, did we not talk about that before?
no, I didn't know that you went and taught in Spain. So was it also
Yeah.
Fulbright or
It
something else?
wasn't. It was like NALCAP, the government. It's
Okay,
just like
cool.
Spanish government gets so many teachers. But yeah, it
Really
was it was awesome. It was so fun. So I always tell people like I'm like, if you need gap year ideas, oh my God, I got like a billion. I got a whole
yes.
Rolodex as if
Yes,
we have those
yes.
anymore.
And like what you're saying, it's so important to have fun because
No, it is.
you get to law school, there is a lot going on. You do not have time to do anything that you would do in your regular daily life, let alone have a good
Right.
time. There's just a lot of volume of material. Of course, law school is actually still very fun, surprisingly. I
I was
really
gonna say I want to know your take on that because I feel like you probably would like. I mean, of course you like it.
Yeah, no, I
like,
actually do really like law school. It's just a different kind of fun. Like you're not traveling and you're not, going to get drinks with the girls, which is like my favorite thing to
right.
do. Where like
I
you're not
love getting drinks with
necessarily
the girls.
like I'm begging people here to go get drinks with me, but everyone's just so busy. Um, and
That's
so yeah,
funny.
that's a good use of your gap year is just doing things that you won't have time to do once you get to law school. Also read a ton of books in your gap year. It's like really
Yes.
nice to have that leisure time to read like fiction. Um,
Yeah.
but
No, wait, not to put you on the spot, but any book recs?
oh, my favorite book ever is The Poisonwood Bible.
Oh,
Um,
I haven't read that, but one of my best
really
friends,
good.
that's also her favorite book. I
It's
need
really
to.
good. I haven't read Barbara Kingsolver's new book, but um, I plan on reading that soon. And then one book that I recently
Amazing.
finished is called Trust. I'm
Ooh,
forgetting the
never heard
author
of
right
that.
now, but it's also very good. It's like a story told from multiple perspectives.
Love.
So yeah.
Wait, side note, have you read The Secret History?
Yes, I actually
I
just
think you would
read
like that. It's good.
I I liked it.
Or
I
did
thought
you
it was a
actually
bit
did you
slow.
not?
I did like it. I thought it was a bit slow, but I liked the message at the end
It was
where you
crazy slow burn, but then I was, like, kicking my feet by the
yes,
end. Like, I
yes,
was
I
like,
did
"This is
really
a
like it.
crazy book."
Yeah, I loved that book. But yeah,
Anyways,
okay, so on law school and whether it's fun.
yes.
I will not speak for any other law schools. I don't know if if theirs are fun. But Yale is actually a good time because the quality of people here is
Mm,
so incredible. Everybody has like fully developed personalities, fully developed opinions,
I
fully
love that.
developed, I mean, not fully developed opinions because opinions do change and we're learning a lot
Right.
constantly, but they have so much experience and so much to say. They're so diverse. And surprisingly, my year for some reason is pretty chill. We all get along very well. It's quite collegial and it's so small.
Nice.
It's only 200 people.
I was gonna say it's a smaller-ish class. I mean, it just depends. Law school class sizes will vary so much, but
Yeah.
yeah, some of them are like 500 plus, so
Yes.
that's a big difference.
It's a huge difference. I think the dynamics of the 500 plus schools are very different from the dynamics here. You still have, your close friends, but really you are saying hello to every single person that you pass in the hallway because there's only 200 people in each class and you just get to know everyone very well. Um, there's downsides, of course, to having a small school, which is that like probably everybody knows what you're doing at all times, but The plus side is that you're not really doing anything nefarious because you're in the library all the time. So, um, that's great. And then there's also great opportunities to get to know people. There's bar review every Thursday. There's so many parties every weekend, like someone's throwing something. Um,
Fun. Okay, wait.
yeah,
You were just telling me
but
that it's so hard for you to get people to go out.
no, yeah, but well, it's hard to get people to go out, but it's easy to throw a
I get
house
that, but
party.
like a chill, yeah.
Yeah,
No, that
and then,
makes
like, New
sense.
York's right here, so if you really need to get out of New Haven, which does happen, you could just, like, hop on a 2-hour train, and so it's really great. I've honestly been pleasantly surprised by law school. It's just a different kind of fun than I think anyone would be, used to.
No, that's so fair. Exactly. That makes sense. Um, okay. I was going to ask more about law school, but I think actually we should probably start talking a little bit more about the LSAT and then we can get back to it because I'm wondering if people are just sitting here listening right now, like, okay, wait, but tell me your secrets. Like, how did you go from this to this? Which, okay, yeah, it was a 156 to a 174, right? That's awesome. By the way, did we talk about this? So similar. I also had a 156, well, as my like first test. And then I ended up getting up into the exact same range as you. And so, yeah, very, very similar. And you took it 3 total times. I took it 4 total times. So amazing. So yeah, I'm like, we talked about when you were kind of stuck in your plateau. We talked about finding Seven Sage. What was it when you started kind of studying in a different way in your second round of studying? Like, did you have any big turning points, breakthroughs? What was like any secret sauce that you got for us?
Yeah, so the first time I was studying, I was using basically the normal like LSAT books, other like platforms where you're just taking sections or you're taking some number of questions at a time. And that just really wasn't working for me. Again, I was hitting like a score plateau and I just didn't know what I was doing wrong, one, and I didn't even know what kinds of questions I was doing wrong. Again, this is in like 2022, 2023, so the other platforms didn't have what Seven Sage had, which was like tailored drills, analytics, and explanation videos. So by the time I found Seven Sage, those things were incredibly helpful for me because they identified what types of questions I was getting wrong, which for me was necessary and sufficient assumption, and then weakened questions. They also gave me explanation videos to explain why I was consistently choosing the wrong answer. And then the third thing was that blind reviewing and wrong answer journaling genuinely saved my score. At the beginning, I hated blind review because I was like, I have to take this entire test again, and this is like really burning my time. Um, but then I started doing it more diligently, like actually blind reviewing the entire test, and I really caught my mistakes this time. Like I caught my mistakes, and then I would wrong answer journal, and I wrong answer journaled in a way that was tailored to me. So I didn't do the online wrong answer journal, but I'm like a very handwritten person. And so my wrong answer journal was handwritten and it was directed at me. So it was me talking to myself like, Saavni, every time you see a sufficient assumption question, you read in assumptions for the writers. Don't do that. The writers don't deserve that. You choose what they are looking for. And something that helped me in my wrong answer journal, because I kept seeing this time and time again come up on my journaling, was that um I kept trying to read between the lines, but there's no reading between the lines on the LSAT. The lines that they give you are the lines that they give you. The words on the page are all the words that you have. And something I tell my students even now is that these questions have been rewritten and rewritten and retested and rewritten literally hundreds of times in hundreds of iterations. So if they are saying a certain word, they mean to be saying it. And if they're not saying a certain word, they meant to exclude it. And so don't read in assumptions for the writers because what they're saying is exactly what they mean. Don't try to read between the lines. It's actually much more obvious than you think. And I think the blind reviewing and my wrong answer journaling really helped with that, and also really helped with process of elimination, which was also super helpful on those questions that honestly I was getting to a point that on the real exam I would be between answer choices A and C, between two answer choices, and I didn't really know I didn't know what the correct answer was, and so process of elimination was super helpful for that because it kind of allowed me to get into the minds of the test writers, like, why are these the 2 answers that I'm left with? And what do they want me to answer even if I don't find it intuitive? Um, and I can talk a bit more about that too, but so basically those were the reasons that I think my score went up after I started using 7 Sage and the second round of studying.
No, that's really helpful. And yeah, especially what you're talking about in terms of just like really retraining your brain, which I love how you were just like nice and slowly writing it out. Like it's a literal journal. That's exactly what I was doing as well. And you're just talking to yourself, like you're teaching yourself. You're like, hey, I've noticed that you've been doing this. That's okay. I see why you're doing it. I wouldn't always write out that whole sentence, but it has that vibe. Like, I see what you're doing. You're trying to, speed things up. Maybe you're trying to hack the test and, like try to get to the right answer without really thinking through the question. But here's where you need to dial it back and just remind yourself like the words on the page are the words on the page, nothing more, nothing less.
Exactly, exactly, and
Yeah.
I like what you're saying and how you're saying it because it's so important to, like, be kind to yourself during
Oh,
this
yeah.
journey
Oh my
because at
gosh.
so many points I was, like, just, like, pulling my hair out, frustrated with myself that I wasn't understanding this certain thing, and I was like, "Why do I keep missing it?" But honestly, if you give yourself time to learn, you are kinder to yourself because you're not pressured by time, and it's so important to stay kind and be like, "I understand why you're doing this, but, like, let's retrace our steps," and treating yourself as a client that deserves respect is honestly very, very helpful in the process and just a healthier way to approach it.
Right. No, big thing I had to learn. Like, well, first of all, I'm picturing my like baby self listening to this podcast at the beginning of my LSAT studying, and I would have been like, whatever, who cares about being nice? Let's just keep going. Let's focus on like getting things right. And I had this terrible mindset where because of all of that, I was really beating myself up for everything that I was missing. And it really like factors into that limiting mindset we were talking about before, where it's just like, I got this question wrong because something's wrong with me. Like you take it really personally. It's like internal. Oh no, I can't do this. Something is wrong with me. I'm not smart enough. You're telling yourself all these things. And there was a very like stark difference in my LSAT studying where I started to transition into like, okay, well, you got to at least be nice to your brain so that like strategically you can get it back on the right path. Cause we're humans. Like you wouldn't talk to somebody else like that, right? Like, why are you talking to yourself like that?
Right, exactly, exactly.
Yeah. So, okay, amazing. So, if this is anybody's sign, do a wrong answer journal, be nicer to yourself, and really just
Blind
focus on
review.
like say it. A blind review, exactly. Oh, yeah, and I was gonna ask more about that actually. So, wait, recapping the wrong answer journal. Be nice to yourself and really focus on giving yourself pathways to get out of your not so great thought processes. And I'm always just asking myself, like, why did I choose the wrong answer? Why was it wrong? Why did I choose or why did I ignore the right answer? Why was it right? And then what is that specific strategy or drill set that I'm going to be able to use to do better next time? And that strategy might just look like that kind of pattern of thinking that you're telling yourself, like, oh, hey, I noticed you're trying to add in your own assumptions, do the heavy lifting for the answer choices again, and that doesn't work. So let's try to stop doing that and let the answer choices be what they are. Just explain them in your own words and then make sure that it's just answering the question at hand.
Aside from, like, tailoring it to yourself, which for me was handwriting and talking to myself. Um, Another thing is the way that you organize your wrong answer journal is also very can change how you what you take away from it, basically. So some people will organize it by test, some people organize it by section, like these are LR notes and these are RC notes. I organized I organized it by question type so that every time I was approaching a necessary assumption drill, I could go to that part in my wrong answer journal and look at all the notes, all the errors I make in necessary assumption, and then approach the drill now knowing that, oh, okay, these are the common issues that I should look out for while I'm taking this drill. So that was also helpful. Organizing is important.
No, that's so smart. I wish I could go back in time and do that. Mine was so chaotic. Like mine would literally I would try to go through and like use different highlighting colors for different trends that I was noticing, but it was just I mean, there's like 20 different question types. It was like all over the place by the end of it. So, yeah, no, that's awesome. That's really helpful, hopefully. And then, okay, in terms of blind review, so you were saying that you started going back and like blind reviewing the entire test. Like you would redo every question, or would you just look at the ones that you flagged? I'm always curious about how people actually approach the blind review.
Yeah, so at first I was just doing the questions that I had flagged and I would go back and blind review those. And a lot of times I was right to flag them because they were wrong the first time. Or I just didn't get time to go back to the flagged questions. But what I realized is that I was missing some of the questions that I thought that I got right by only going back to the flagged ones. So, like, a lot of times, the first 15 questions you never really go back to because you're pretty confident that you got all of those right. But you can get a lot of points in correcting silly mistakes by going back to those first 15 questions and just picking up those 2 questions that you might have missed otherwise if you hadn't blind reviewed the entire section. Um, and also, that allows you to make very easy, quick tweaks so that you never make that mistake again. For example, I remember one vividly, which was that I was going back and blind reviewing the entire LR section, and I missed like question 7 because I didn't read the word not.
Ah, oh my gosh, yes, that's happened to me before, and exactly, it's like you make that mistake, I don't know, however many times, but, like, that's the last time you're gonna make it as soon as you realize that you're getting, that
Exactly.
frustrated. Yep,
And had I not gone back and reviewed the entire section, I never would have noticed that there are times that sometimes I was missed the word not because I didn't even flag that question. But I never made that mistake again. So it's kind of easier. It's easy points to you get easy points from blind reviewing the entire section again.
exactly, yeah, and I honestly, I do think that's a really great way to do this, but by the way, if you are listening and you're like, "Okay, I've tried blind reviewing the whole thing, it just takes so much more time, and I feel like I don't get as much out of it," there are ways on the website that you can, let them so, like, now we have that thing where it flags questions for blind review, and you can even narrow that down to just the questions that you missed, which I will recommend that you at least, like, really blindly blind review. The whole idea of blind review is that you have no idea what you missed, you're just going through it again with extra time. I recommend doing that at least once or twice so that you can get the hang of just like catching your own mistakes when you're like entirely blind to it. However, I do think those tools on the website are helping people get a little bit more efficient with their process and still get a lot out of blind review. Cause like you maybe wouldn't have noticed that you missed question 7, but then they circle it for you. And so you go back and you're like, okay, well, I know that I missed this, but I don't know what I did wrong here. And so thinking it through again, still before you see the right answer, before you look at the explanation video, I think that's still a great way to keep boosting your process.
That's awesome that the website now has all these cool like
I know, right?
tricks to
Yeah,
help
it's
set
changed
you.
so much, yeah, since I was
Yeah,
using it, or even since I
same.
first started tutoring, but it's
Same.
awesome.
Also,
Everybody check it out.
I will say I was not the perfect blind reviewer. I did speed through the first half of
Got
LR
you.
and
Like, you would
RC
just kind
every
of
single
like,
time.
kind of double check.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
I was just double checking, and so, like, it's okay to speed through that, of course, but, like,
right,
sometimes you do catch, like, silly little errors, so it's helpful.
right. Yeah, agreed. Um, awesome. Okay. Any other, I guess, tips or tricks that maybe you wanted to throw in there that we haven't been able to talk to yet, like talk about?
Um, okay, I think I will mention something about the process of elimination thing. Okay, so sometimes you are taking this exam and you've worked on all your strategies and you're doing pretty well, but you're still missing like 3 or 4 questions on LR. This is where I was. I was missing 3 to 4 questions on LR and also like 3 to 4 questions on RC, which was putting me at a goal score that I didn't want. And I kind of like I was like, screw RC. I'm never going to have enough time to finish all of those. So I'm going to just accept that I will get 3 to 4 wrong on RC and try to lower my LR mistakes because that's something I can actually do. Um, but I was still getting 3 to 4 wrong on LR, and honestly, I was not able to fix that. I wasn't able to fix those mistakes because sometimes, like, the answers are so random that you never would have thought to select that answer because you just think it's, I don't know, irrelevant or something. So something that helped me with this was process of elimination, which was that when you really don't know what the right answer is, instead of trying to find the right answer with your own reasoning, find the right answer by process of elimination. And the way that I did that was by categorizing answer choices. So, for example, for necessary assumption, sufficient assumption, and weakened questions, the pattern that I noticed in answer choices is you have 5 answer choices. One of the answer choices is genuinely irrelevant. Like, it gives you a premise or an assumption that like has no impact on anything. There actually might be 1 or 2 answer choices like that. Another one is that it's going in the opposite direction. So the assumption is linking the wrong way. I don't know how to describe that better, but like instead of saying A to B, it's saying B to A. So you take that one out. Then there are answer choices that are overly narrow or overly broad. Take those out. And then you're left with the right answer. Even if you don't know exactly why this answer is correct, you don't have time to understand it on the real exam. So select it, flag it, and move on. And that really increased my score was just getting understanding how the test writers write this exam, what they want me to select, even if I don't fully understand why I'm selecting it. Um, and that's just like on those last marginal questions that you just don't have time to understand. Ideally, you would understand all the questions, but that's probably never going to be true for anybody. Um, so process of elimination can be really helpful.
No, that totally makes sense. Yeah. And I would be careful, like just in general, when people take this advice to always remind yourself that the wrong answers, the patterns and wrong answers, they really do exist over the course of the test, but they are a little bit more question type specific than I think people like to think. Like I have so many students coming into my classes and they're just like, well, we got to get rid of that answer choice no matter what because it's too strong. And I'm like, well, there's certain question types where, I mean, any of them where they say if true or if valid or if assumed in the question stem, sufficient assumption, weaken, strengthen, pseudo sufficient assumption where you find the rule. Any of those, you do want to be careful of eliminating if it's like too general or too strong, because it's like, if this is true, how does this impact? But like that, and that just goes into the other types of answer choices that you were talking about, where you want to eliminate that just like don't have the impact on the stimulus that you're looking for. So of course, it takes a lot of studying. It's not like I wish there was more heuristics of like just general rules that you could always apply to every single question. There aren't too many. However, there's plenty of different patterns and rules to look out for within the question type. And the more that you can pick up on those, exactly. Like you can always get the question by figuring out what's not wrong instead of focusing on what seems right. And that's always my advice too when you get down to two answer choices. It's like, don't go for the one that seems more right, seems more attractive, I don't know, seems shinier and is like catching your attention or seems more intuitive to you, like you've been saying. Go for the one that we know has no red flags, like pit the answer choices against each other. Any potential red flags based on the question stem, if it's most strongly supported, any strong unsupported language, pick out those. And then ask yourself which one of these has the least amount of red flags. I'm just looking for the thing that's not wrong instead of what seems more right.
Yes, and you're absolutely right. I would limit my what I just said to specific groups of question types. Like the classifying answer choices is limited to specific questions. Like there aren't overarching rules that I found, at least. Um, but there is one actually, which is that there's always like an answer choice that hits the buzzwords that you want, but is wrong. Like
Yes,
it's
they love I
they
call it like a word salad.
yeah, the
Yes, they're
word
like
salad, the
grabbing
shiny word salad.
keywords, but they mix them up in a way that's actually not helpful, and you
Yes.
wanna immediately be able to just weed past
Yes.
that. Yeah, I like that. So, yeah, just kind of like bring all of this together. It's sounding like you got pretty good at being your own tutor essentially throughout this. Like we were talking about how it looks to talk to yourself as if you were your own client. We were talking about how to retrain your brain in all of these different ways. Can we talk more a little bit about that? Like any tips that you would have from somebody for somebody who is looking to just really teach themselves this test? And also, like, when do you reach out and ask for help when you need it?
Yeah, definitely. So you're so right. I think that I was being my own tutor. I became my own tutor at one point when I realized that I'm not my enemy. I'm actually a partner in myself, and you need to be kind to yourself and all those things that we said because you're your own client, you're your own partner. And I would say the LSAT is a lot like learning a new language, in that you have to be disciplined. You have to be kind to yourself as you're learning every time you mispronounce something or whatever. But you also need to know when to reach out for help because sometimes somebody else knows the language a little bit better than you do. Um, and knowing when that is really important. Um, in the same way that like knowing when to reach out to your tutor is really important. Sometimes it's also too early to reach out to somebody else because you just don't have the foundation before you need to reach out to a tutor or somebody that knows the language better than you. But sometimes it really is necessary. But back to being your own tutor. Be kind to yourself. Know your own strategies. What works for you? For me, it was handwriting and it was organizing in a very type A neurotic way for my personal wrong answer journal. Um, it was also, focusing on specific question types rather than focusing on an entire section. Whereas for other people, it's focusing on an entire section versus, specific questions. And something really important that I have tried to bring into my tutoring sessions is summarizing at the end of your study session. So you'll see this when you tutor, you'll say, okay, just wrapping this all up today, we discussed blah and blah and blah, and these are the strategies that you should approach on these questions. Do that for yourself too. Write down, today I studied RC and LR, or actually, I didn't write this part down. I would talk to my dog, who I would hold hostage in my room. Um, and I would say, Simba, today I studied RC, and I learned that the best way for me to do comparative passages is to read A and then eliminate based on A, and then read B and then eliminate based on B, and then get to the right answer basically by process of elimination on comparative passages. Um, and so I would summarize things like that the same way that you would want a tutor to summarize it for you. You know, when you leave class at the end of the day, this happens a lot in law school, you'll learn so much information and you will hope and pray that at the end of the class or at the beginning of the next one, your professor goes over everything that you learned. And you're so frustrated when you didn't because now you have to go home and do the analysis yourself. Do the analysis yourself when you're being your own tutor. Do it at the end of your study session or at the beginning of your next study session. And that'll really help your progress because you're analyzing as you're going and you're summarizing as you're going. And so, yeah, that's kind of what I meant by being your own partner. And
No, I love that. And by the way, yeah, as soon as you said that, I was like, yeah, I literally used to genuinely believe that I was my own enemy. Like I was fighting against myself in life. And like, is that helpful? Is this like healthy? Is this going to get us anywhere? No. Like I mean, I get why people get like that. There's so many things that can happen throughout your life to like get you to that point, but it's all about what you do next. And this is awesome. Hopefully people can take a lot out of this, a lot of takeaways, which is exactly what we're talking about, making sure that you are giving yourself takeaways every single day. And like I always make sure too that I'm like walking away from every question with some sort of takeaway. Like maybe I don't have to write it down. You could, speak it out loud, talk to somebody, your dog who you hold hostage. I love it. You could do anything, but like really just focus on, okay, what did I learn here? Because it's kind of the thing where you come home from school when you're growing up and your parents are sitting around the dinner table and they're like, so what'd you learn today? And you're like, nothing. Like, I don't know, nothing. It's like, we don't want to be doing that. We're adults now. Like we gotta be able to figure out what we have learned every day. And you're totally learning something every day.
and this is person by person, but I'm a writer, but I'm also like a talker. And so talking explaining the strategies to my poor dog was actually super helpful. Because like when you teach, it actually like goes in your brain better.
Yeah, no,
I
and this is
realized.
true for everybody. Yeah, I think that's part of like being your own tutor is like you really have to get yourself to explain your own thoughts. If that's writing, if that's talking, if that's I don't know why this would work for me, but I would like record a lot of voice memos. I wasn't sending them to anybody. It was just like going into my phone, but it felt a little bit more official because it's like me actually recording it and like sometimes I'd make myself listen to it back and I'd be like, oh, I hate listening to my own voice. But this is good because I'm making myself actually think through and talk through and explain in my own words things that I didn't feel like I had the power to explain before because I didn't fully understand it. If you want to get to that deeper level of understanding, which I mean, this test is literally just understanding what you read, logic, reason. If you want to get to that point, you really just got to talk yourself through it, write yourself through it, like express your thoughts.
It's kind of hard because it really does at some point feel like you're in this alone. Nobody else might be taking the LSAT around you. Nobody else is exactly experiencing the same issues that you experience on the exam. You know, so maybe you might have like attention issues that other people don't have. I definitely did. And so it does feel like you're alone at some point. And that's what gets frustrating and that's what can get when you're aggressive toward yourself because you don't have anyone else to take it out on. But that's when this is helpful, is seeing yourself almost as two people, the person taking the test and the person learning and teaching the test. It's kind of like a Jekyll and Hyde like situation, but it's helpful
There
to
are
think
two
about.
wolves
There are
inside
two
of you.
wolves, and those wolves should be nice
And
to
they're
each
actually both
other.
really nice and they're
And they're
getting
both
along.
nice, and they're really trying their best. And it's helpful to think about it as like, yes, I'm in this alone, but I can help myself through this. I'm my own partner. And then when you need help, of course, reach out. As I did when I reached out to Bailey, and she really, really helped me at the end there, right before my exam.
Amazing. Yeah, we just had like a quick little consult and then I was like, you can do this. You should be a tutor afterwards. Like, and then you were. So yay. Amazing. And I think this is a good segue. We actually talked a little bit about this, but just like, so now whole LSAT journey, even tutoring people through the LSAT, how is that transferred over to things that are helpful in law school?
Mm. So I know a lot of people say that the LSAT is actually not a good test of how you do in school. And I'm going to say something controversial, which is that I actually do think it tells you something. One, it tells you your work tolerance and how much you are willing to how much time you're willing to put into a single thing and how long it takes you to do that. So it gives you a lot of information about your work tolerance. Like I would burn out after 4 hours of studying. That was my max. But other people that I've talked to at the law school would burn out after 6 or 8 hours of studying. And that informs how we study here at law school, which is that I make 2 to 3 hour segments of time in my day to do my reading because I know that after that, I'm going to go like walk around and go chat with people and go get a coffee or whatever. So that's one thing. Another thing is that um, you learn how you read, basically. You learn how the first time I read something, this is what I pick up from it. The second time I read something, this is what I pick up from it. And if I read it a third time, I can get this third thing from it. That is how you're also reading a case. You read it the first time and you understand the initial points and the initial arguments. Read it a second time and you understand the nuances. Then you read it a third time and you think, wait, who's writing this? And who are they writing it for? And why, what normative values are coloring why they wrote this and how they wrote this? And I learned that learn like that through my LSAT studying process and through tutoring as well on first read, second read, third read, whatever.
Right. And I think even if anybody is sitting here and you're like, but my brain doesn't work like this is the kind of stuff that is learnable. It is teachable. Like I was so much worse at digesting complex information and, spitting out a simple understanding of it when I started studying. And now I feel very confident that I can do that. And I feel very confident that I'd be able to apply if I were to go to law school, I'd be able to apply that. But you're doing it for me. So I don't even have to find that out for myself.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's takeaways will be different, but the LSAT can be informative for just like how you study, how you learn, your work tolerance, your, you know, ADHD levels, your whatever it is.
Raging ADHD up in here. I have
Okay,
it. I'm guessing
yeah.
you have it.
By the way,
Not
everybody in
actually based on this conversation, but just because of what you were just saying about attention.
no, I mean, everybody in law school has something, okay? That's something
Love.
you gotta remember. Nobody is perfect. You're gonna experience
Yes.
imposter syndrome when you get there. You're gonna be like, "Wow, how do these people sit for 8 hours a day studying?" Okay,
Oh, I don't understand that at all. I still
nobody's
don't
doing that.
understand that. I'm like, and you don't have to be that kind of person to succeed. Like we're telling you right now, you don't have to. But that's awesome. It's
Exactly.
cool that those people are there. Like everybody has such cool brains. I love seeing how everybody's brains work. That's what I was
Yeah,
thinking when you were saying that you've just met great people.
yeah, exactly. Just very unique people, like, okay, so I have one friend who has really great attention. That's not his issue, but his issue is that he can't learn without speaking to himself. So he will literally take a legal pad and get up from the silent part of the library and go downstairs and walk around and basically like read his notes aloud to himself and talk to himself. So people have very different weird quirks and stuff. And when I asked him like, how do you know that you did that? That's how I studied for the LSAT. So it really does, inform you. You learn a lot about yourself, I would say, in studying for the LSAT. Um, so yeah, those are kind of how it's applicable in law school. There's probably other ways too, but I think that's how I've found it applicable.
No, that's awesome. That's super helpful. I'm always curious, do you notice conditional reasoning coming up in cases at all? Like any sort of if A then B, unless sentences? I feel like those are
Yes.
everywhere.
Yes, and actually, I hate to say this, but like the way that LR teaches you how to read is very applicable to opinions. Like very applicable. Sometimes you will read an opinion and you'd be like, wait, that's a logical fallacy. Like that's
You're literally circular reasoning yourself right
yes.
now, and
Oh my
I'm
God.
not gonna buy
The
it.
circular reasoning is so rampant in some of these like older
Really?
justices that are writing opinions. Like they will genuinely use circular reasoning or they will assume something like a background
Like you're
norm that
making
they
an
don't
unwarranted
explain.
assumption, like, you can always be, like, sassy
Yes.
against those, that's
Yes,
funny.
and you're, like, interacting with their writing based on the skills that you learned in stupid LR, which is, like, so annoying, but it is applicable in that way that
Right.
there are if-thens and there are, like, policy arguments, there are substantive arguments, and you like are differentiating between this is a policy argument, this is a doctrinal argument, this is a blah, like whatever.
Okay, thank goodness you said that, because that's how all of them sounded like to me. This is a
Yeah, yeah,
blah.
yeah.
This is a blah. I'm like, I don't know any of this,
Right.
but I love
This is a blah. This is a blah. You'll pick up on those things, but
it.
um, but yeah. So yes, you're right that like LR is also applicable in that it teaches you basically how to read an opinion. In a lot of
Awesome.
ways.
Okay, this is so helpful. Yay. Okay. Well, recapping our takeaways from today. Number one, do not give up. I mean, these are going to be a little bit cheesy. Like if we boil this stuff down, it's like, don't give up, be nice to yourself, learn how to teach yourself. But these are all such true things. And again, it's the kind of stuff that I was just like brushing off at the beginning of my LSAT studying, because I thought I was so smart and I thought that I could just, get to the point of mastering this test without doing all of that stuff. But like, we're humans. We're not LSAT robots. Like that, we got to learn how to treat ourselves as humans, how to learn and really tough new language, like we were talking about. And so know that we've been there. Oh, and I was going to bring this back too, of like what you were saying of just feeling alone in your studying. Yes, you can feel so alone. I'm willing to bet, though, that everybody who's studying with some sort of specific thing, there's at least one other person out there. Now, are you going to interact with them? Who knows? But the more that you join LSAT communities, maybe come to classes, maybe even just like even the discussion forums on Seven Sage are really helpful to not feel so alone, because I think everybody kind of tells themselves like, woe is me. This is just my problem and nobody else can bear it with me. And I mean, maybe you don't have to share it with anybody if you don't want to, but like, I'm just willing to bet that there's somebody else out there. So you're not alone. Another cheesy but true takeaway.
You're not alone, and if all else fails, you have yourself.
Yes,
So,
exactly. And
um,
and if anything I've learned from this test, it's like, oh, you know what? It's kind of fun to be up in here with me. And you
yeah,
have two wolves and they're being really nice to each
exactly,
other.
exactly. Like you can be your own partner, you can be your own friend. Also, on the first one, the don't give up.
Yes.
Also, don't let the application cycle dictate when
I
you
think
apply.
that's so important. Yeah, so many people are just like, I have to apply this cycle or bust. And I'm like, what's going to happen if you go to law school 1 year later? Like, just tell me exactly what's going to happen, because I think it'll be okay. In fact, it
Yes.
might be better. It might be a
Yeah,
better outcome.
exactly.
Amazing. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. You should come up and visit me in New York sometime. You're very
Definitely.
close.
I should.
And hopefully everybody is feeling a little bit more, I don't know, powerful after
A little
listening to
more
this.
powerful, a little more powerful, and like also law school is a good time. It's hard.
Yes.
It's taxing. It's a lot of work, but it really is, in my experience, a good time. And you walk away with incredible, incredible friends. And so if you're considering going to law school, think about it hard, but don't think your life ends once you get there. It's really it's a really great place. And I would recommend it if you're thinking about going to law school.
Yay. Amazing. All
Okay,
right.
thank you so much.
Have a good day, everybody. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Check out Seven Sage's other services, and we will see you next time.